Kia ora, Sharne.
Kia ora, bro.
Thanks very much for joining me on the podcast today.
Not a problem. We've been a few.
We normally sit alongside each other, but it's good to be sitting across the table from you today.
Yeah, cool.
Bro, let me start by asking you about your early days, your childhood, because I've sort of heard bits and pieces, but I don't know the full story, so I'd be really keen to hear about those early days.
Cool. So, obviously, my parents are very young. When I was conceived, my mum was 16 and my dad was 15 at the very start.
Man, that is young.
Yeah, so it was one of those young sort of things that happen. And I know early on my mum was really scared about what my nana would say about being pregnant. So she sort of run away to the West Coast. So I was born on the West Coast in Westport, just sort of kept as a sort of a semi-secret. Obviously, my name's a little bit unusual. I think I was Sharne either way, boy or a girl.
Really?
I don't think my mum knew at the time. But yeah, so I was born on the West Coast, came back to Christchurch, lived here for a little bit, moved to Warkworth. I was quite young, 4, 5, started school up there.
It's a long way from home.
Yeah,
all the way up to Warkworth.
It's a long way. So just north of Warkworth, actually, Snells Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful place. And like I have a few memories of the place. A couple not so great. We were in a bus crash going to school.
Really?
Well, coming home from school, actually. The brakes failed. We went through some lights. So
one
of those random things that stick with you through your life.
And it is you and your mum?
Yep.
Or did your dad go as well?
No. So I actually didn't meet my dad till I was 14.
Oh, wow.
So there's a few different stories. I've never really pushed the knowing of the story. So I know, like, I'm more of a friend with my dad now than it's not really a hey dad sort of situation. I call him dad and everything like that. But there's a couple of stories about what happened at the time. Sort of dad ended up going overseas, so I never really met him. But through association, because my mum and my dad went to school together, so that's how the whole thing came about. But my two aunties, my dad's sister and my mum's sister, were like best friends at school.
Oh, yeah.
So even though I didn't know my dad, I always knew my auntie Sonia. Yeah. I grew up with her kids as well as my auntie Joe's kids at the time. But again, didn't meet my dad till I was 14.
He obviously knew who he was because he knew your auntie, right?
And that's right. And everyone sort of knew who he was.
Yeah.
I was told by my mum that there's only one possible person it could be.
Yeah.
And if anyone would know, she would know.
Yep.
But yeah, so
you end up in Warkworth or just
Warkworth,
north?
just north of Warkworth. Yeah, and then through different things and stuff like that, we end up coming back home to Christchurch, and then in Christchurch, I pretty much lived every part of Christchurch. To be honest, I've got, I've lived in Sydney, Linwood, Hornby, Belfast,
all over, eh?
Redwood, all of it. I've done, my time in a lot of different schools.
Yeah.
And then, so we're in Christchurch for a little bit. At this time, I've gone to live with my auntie. My mum was really struggling at the time. So I have a brother and a sister with my mum. Their dad, and me and him never got along. It was always a bit of, I don't know.
Just butted heads?
Yeah, just butted heads. Couple of times sort of really come to it.
It's always a difficult relationship, I think, and to try and, that stepdad, step-son kind of relationship. It's, when it works, it's amazing, but you do hear often it just doesn't work. They butt heads for obvious reasons.
And I don't know, like, I think about it like a little bit like, at the time, did I think he was trying to take my mum away from me, and I wasn't part of the real family as such, because they had kids together and they were together. Gone back to living with my mum. Bad stuff happens. I get into a bit of trouble at school.
Are we still talking primary school?
Yeah, late primary school. No, not even late primary school, early primary school. We're actually living in Mount Roskill at the time.
Oh, so you're back up in Auckland?
Yeah. it's a crazy all over the place. Driven from probably Auckland to Christchurch 6 or 7 times, to be honest.
Wow. Why were you moving so much? Like
Well,
moving's hard.
yeah, it is not when you don't have anything though. Like when all you have is your car and your clothes and stuff at the time, and you're renting and doing all of this stuff. And I've never had a job, so it was always on the benefit and everything. So we sort of just moved about.
Yeah.
But I got into a bit of trouble in school. Pretty much went in, was already in a bad attitude to be living in a place I didn't really know anyone, and got bullied on the first day, and just decided that I wasn't going to have any of it.
Yeah.
And probably overreacted and threw some chairs and a desk at someone. So was politely asked to leave.
Yeah.
My mother thought it would be best if I came and lived with my auntie again, my auntie Jo.
So this is the second round living with Auntie Jo.
Yeah. And as well as during this time, like at this time I didn't know, but come later can look back and go, the signs are there. My mum developed a drug habit with my brother and sister's father, who also had drug habit, and we were hanging around with some not so nice people in our houses and stuff like that, which comes with that element, gangs and the such.
Yeah.
And if you get on the wrong side of them, there's only sort of 2 ways it goes: you pay or you get in a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
So to be fair, my mum did the right thing probably by sending me away from that situation.
Okay.
Probably
not how I felt at the time.
No, not how it felt at the time. I felt like, to be fair, I was a little bit angry about it. I felt at the time she chose him over me.
Yeah.
And, when you're young, you don't know any different or anything like that. But again, I live with my auntie, who was honestly always loving, caring, treated me like I was her own. And she also had a partner who recently passed away in the last couple of years, who I didn't always get along with, and now realize, looking back after, he was a great part of my life because I lived with my auntie for so long, and he was my father figure, for good or bad. Like, he wasn't always a good person, and we come from a pretty strict home where, lots of people do in our age, where you get a hiding if you do something wrong, or, or even, to be fair, even if they're in a bad mood and you just sort of stray outside the line, sometimes you catch it.
Don't even have to do anything that wrong.
No.
Just be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That's right. Something as silly as, you see a lot of videos now about those, mums, when you were growing up, you spill the milk and you get, a whooping, and then told that, and they let their grandkids do whatever they want. That's sort of how it felt at the time. You stepped out of line and you're in trouble. But again, like after he passed away, I really reflected on the fact that I didn't have a true father figure, but he was that for me, and for good and bad. There's so many good times that you remember as well as the bad times. Going away camping, without him there, we never get to do those sort of things. So
where did you fellas go camp?
Ashley Gorge.
Oh, yep.
Yep. So we used to go there a bit. Even, just doing those day-to-day things then, like, I don't know, he used to be into car racing, so we'd go to the Ruapuna a bit.
Oh, yep.
Stuff like that. But
those are good memories then.
Yeah, those are great memories. And of course there's those bad memories as well. Again, I live with my auntie there. It's a big blended household. So I have a cousin, Dylan, a cousin Lisa, and a cousin Jamie that live there with me when I live there. Dylan is my auntie Jo's with her previous partner. Lisa is my uncle Mike's with his previous partner, and then they have Jamie together.
Got you.
So it's,
and then you,
and then me.
Yeah.
So there is, sort of parts to it. And I'm the oldest at the time. Still am the oldest. True. To be fair.
That's how age works.
Yeah. And but it was, again, they say, it takes a village, and my mum sort of whānau'd me out as they will. After all the times past, I look back and I go, maybe it was the right thing.
Yeah.
Because, again, the lifestyle that she ended up living, and that my brother and sister maybe didn't get out of early enough and have had some bad times themselves, maybe is because they stayed in that situation.
So kind of like a blessing in disguise, almost.
That's right, like a blessing in disguise. Into there was again lots of bad times and good times. It's really easy to remember the bad and the good, but I think the most important part is not the extremes of both ends. It's actually that middle bit. And I don't think my brother and sister got the opportunity to have that middle part of just going to school, coming home and having food on the table. They didn't know. And even then, when eventually I go back to live with my mother again, that happens one more time.
So you eventually went back from
Again,
Joe back to mum?
Yeah. Because, family love family. Like they just, like my auntie Jo loves my mum.
Is it her sister?
Yeah, her sister. And so she wants us to be with our family and everything. And I'm guessing I was a strain on a family too. 3 kids already, and then you add another one in the mix. It's always hard.
Yeah.
So again, lots of crazy stuff happens. Everyone's life's got this crazy stuff. But actually, we moved back with my mum. She's moved back down to Christchurch. We live on Worcester Street. I think my mum had convinced my aunties and that she'd got clean and off the drugs and was trying to do the right thing. But that's where I realized that she had it.
Right.
So that became my sort of time of acting out. And I would have been 11 or 12.
There's a lot of stuff that's happened
Oh, yeah.
by the age of 11.
Yeah. And then I started to realize like you see things and things that, your parents might be able to just hide from you or keep sort of you away. It's like, oh, can you go down to the shops and grab this for me? And while you're gone, that's when they do the drugs or that sort of thing.
So you become a bit wiser to it.
Yeah. And I think I enjoyed that part of my life a little bit because I had freedom that other kids just didn't have. There was no bedtimes. There was no, no veggies on the table, no nothing like that. It was just buy whatever you want, like snacks and McDonald's and all of that stuff. As you can tell, I love a good feed.
So there weren't that many boundaries.
No, there was no boundaries.
And when you're that age, you enjoy that.
Yeah.
But probably looking back on it, you're like, fuck.
And I got in a bit of trouble at school.
Yeah, right.
Actually refused to go to school one day, and literally we would have been a stone's throw from the school. The principal came down, tried to ask me to come to school. I pretty much told him to F off and took off from him. That came about, and then I got sent to a youth group. From that youth group, I got sent to like a holiday camp and stuff like that, and that was all fun. So I was like, why would you be
at school?
Yeah, at school and doing, but why would you conform into the rules where I wasn't getting the stuff when I was just turning up and doing everything that everyone else was? I acted out, and then I got the not special treatment, but I got to go to youth group, and there was some great male role models there, like teaching you how to just, I suppose, do the things that your dad or a stable family would teach you to do, just from everything from you just, we would go kayaking or go to the YMCA, play some basketball, and talk, which I suppose it's come from a generation where that didn't really happen early on.
And it sounds like you didn't have many opportunities to have those conversations.
No, and I never say that I felt like comfortable enough to have those conversations with the people in my life. And I don't know if that's from their side or from my side as well. Again, don't see a whole lot of boundaries. All this stuff happens.
Yeah.
So, that happens. I then moved to,
don't say Auckland again.
No, I don't move back to Auckland again. I've only been back to Auckland on holiday since then. I haven't lived back. But I actually ended up moving out from my mum back to my auntie again, where I had a home invasion.
At your mum's house?
Yeah.
Tell me about this. How old are you?
11, 12, maybe.
And by home invasion, you mean someone broke in while you were at home?
Yep. So my mum had a friend at the time. Friends, they were all on drugs. Not just like pretty into heroin. They're just everyday life is my mum is on the benefit. You can't afford heroin when you're on the benefit. So she's out stealing things and selling them and dealing with these people and doing who knows what, you know. So you hang out with the wrong crowd, and then a trip or an experience goes bad. My mum's friend's partner came looking for her. The doors were locked, so he booted them in, smashed it all, grabbed her by the hair and dragged her out the back door. And that's a lot to see when you're a little fella. Well, not even little, you know, I knew that was wrong at the time. Like, and I was just like, this is, you know, this, how do you then go to sleep at night when you just see someone kick in your door and walk through like it was nothing? And, you know, at the time they're trying to get away, and he's just whatever, police turn up, dogs, everything like that. That in itself is a little bit unnerving. So then as far as I know, my auntie stepped back in and pretty much said, no, he's coming back to live with me.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, auntie.
yeah, that's right. And I can't thank her enough in my life for what I effectively think probably saved me from being a different human or a different man.
If that's your environment growing up, it's so easy. Like you can see where like generational trauma comes from, and like why people just repeat the same cycles that their parents and their grandparents. It's such a hard cycle to break. Let's try and get out of.
Yeah,
but it does take someone to like rip you out of that cycle.
That's right, and it gives you an opportunity
to change the narrative.
Because with no opportunity, you can't do it. Like,
and it's all you know.
That's right. Yeah. So again, that's pretty good. So from there, I moved around lots and lots and lots, and I've moved back to my auntie. And then I go to high school.
This is all before high school.
All before high school. Mm. And then I live with my auntie, and I go to high school, and bike to school every day, and start to get into a rhythm of living.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years, and then go to Papua High, which I know your lovely wife went there also. It's crazy you never run into people like that, eh? But small world. From there, my mum was up in rehab at the time. Visit her there. That's not a fun place to go and see people, especially when they're first starting, because they're not in a good state. And, you know, so
how do you feel about your mum at that point in time? Because it would...
Yeah, so I used to, you know, my mum was a fun, cool person, let me do whatever I want. And then I've got to an age now where I've realized, no, I've turned and gone, actually, I don't know if she actually cares about me that much. She just didn't want me in my hair, and I felt like I wasn't wanted for quite a bit. And then so there's a bit of resentment. And this is about the stage maybe just before I meet my dad. I then moved back in with my mum again. So we lived in Belfast. My mum, my brother, and my sister. And pretty much there, I lived there with my brother and sister sometimes. And then my mum would be there a couple of nights every now and then, or for a couple of weeks at a time, and everything like this.
She's still pretty.
Yeah. But at that stage, you know, I'm getting to those teenage years where that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome for me. Like, I don't mind that she's not there. I don't mind that all of this stuff happens now.
Is she clean? Yeah. Like she's been
for a
rehab?
little bit.
Yeah.
And then I think the whole thing about the back into living this in this environment and that back to well, you come out from being clean and you go and hang out with people that you weren't clean with.
Yeah.
So as soon as you do that,
you fall back into the old ways.
You fall back into the old ways. You know, it's like, hey, I've got some extra here. Do you want some? And then instantly, you know, you're back on that train or the wagon. So I lived by myself for a little bit there with my mum there and not there. And some of the time it would be me and my brother and sister.
Are you kind of the adult in that?
Yeah. Definitely.
So it's your job to look after brother and sister? 2 young children, get them to school. Not all the time. Like, obviously, they would go and stay with my mum and stuff. She had a new boyfriend. So
and he wasn't a bad bloke. I never had a problem with him. And again, there's lots of other stuff in there that happened, but the gist of it was I pretty much lived there by myself, and as a young teenager, I thought was cool. Started hanging out with the wrong people as well, because I had all this freedom. And then also associated with my mum's friends' kids who grew up in that same thing. Some bad stuff happened, as in like they were getting into a bit of trouble and leading down that path. And that's when, my nana, who was my mum's mum, she passed away. She was my rock. She was the person I loved the most of my whole mum's family, and then closely followed by my auntie.
Yeah.
But when she passed away, I was really mad at the world, because she was the most caring, loving person that I'd ever known, and she died of cancer. And it's like, why? Why do good people?
So many good people.
So many bad people. And I was angry at the world, man. I was so angry at the world. And I started doing stupid things, hanging out with the wrong people, and doing a little bit of drugs myself, stuff like that. And then I sort of met my dad. And it's like, so this all sort of happened within the space of a year, all of this stuff happening, and meeting my dad and doing the bad stuff and all of this. And meeting my dad, he lived in London, came over for a holiday, met him, and he was like a cool guy. Like, I was pretty fucked off, to be honest, at him for never being there early on. And so I was a bit angry at him to start with. And by all accounts, I had a right to be, like,
100%.
You were never there for me when I grew up. I was angry. It was all of this. And I was like, I felt like this stuff happened to me because of you. And I think I projected some of that in my mind towards him because of how my mum raised me. And so at the start, I thought, it's Dad's fault that mum put me in these positions. It's Dad's fault.
Right.
So at this time, I was still trying to, get along with my mum, and do this stuff. And my dad goes, hey, do you want to come over to London? Fly to London, out of company. Cool time,
Awesome.
Go over there pretty much to a person that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, this is a big experience for me.
Yeah.
Fly out of company, go through Singapore, thought that was awesome, have a look around. Yeah, and then come.
That must have been like a whole new world there.
Oh.
From between bouncing around the coast, Christchurch, Flynn to
London.
world to London via Singapore.
Yeah.
It must have been pretty
just unreal. Like, and even there, like, unreal getting there, and my dad and my stepmom had daughter, one of my other sisters at the time, and she was really young.
in London.
Yeah. And so meeting her as well, and having another sister, who has been raised in a completely different fashion, or will be raised in a completely different fashion from where I was, like two ends of the scale.
Yeah.
And I went over there, and I was there, I think I was there 4 weeks at the end of the year, something like that, maybe Christmas holiday.
So it was a holiday rather than moving over there.
Yeah, it was a holiday. And then so I holidayed there, and I worked with my dad for a bit, and then when I go to leave, he pays me for working. Like, he's got work still and can't just stop work for that amount of time. So work with him and get to do some cool things at night, like some stuff in London that I never thought was crazy. You go to the mall and there's a swimming pool in it, and a bowling alley, and just stuff. And you go to Harold's, a 5-story, just all of the stuff that you never see in Christchurch.
Yeah, you just weren't used to that.
Yeah,
That was a new experience.
no, so new and different for me, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So he came back and had all this money.
Right.
So got paid British pounds.
Yeah.
At the time, I think I got $3 for every pound I had.
Yeah, right.
And so I was cash rich.
You were loaded.
Yeah. Like, young fella, I think I had maybe $1,000, maybe a little bit more at the time.
It's big money back then.
Yeah, back then when you're like 14, 15, I ended up spending that and then borrowing it to my mum. And then what I find out later is, for the same reasons originally, that all of the bad stuff happened. So then I start to resent my mum. And to the point where I'm like, I just don't want to be here. So I start acting out and everything. But then eventually my dad moves home from London and he says, hey, do you want to come and live with me? And I just jumped at the chance. I just didn't want to be around, with home invasion, robbed, I don't know how many times. And that's not because we were easy targets or anything. It's because of the people you associate with.
Yeah.
And, they don't give a shit that it's yours or your kids or anything like that. They want to get drugs, so they'll take stuff and then sell it and get it. And so that was my way. I looked at it and I was like, this is my way out.
Yep.
This is the way for me to get away from that and not have to worry about my bike being stolen or stuff like that. So I'm still at high school, live with my dad. He's pretty chilled out dude. Again, like it's sort of a friend's relationship more than a, he doesn't tell me to tidy my room or do these sort of chores or anything like that.
But he sounds like an adult.
Yeah.
Like he's got his shit squared away.
Yeah, that's right. And again, don't have to worry about food being on the table.
Yeah.
Which was a massive part of growing up. For us, we just never had anything. My Nana and my Auntie Jo both worked at the bakery, so we always had bread.
Yeah.
That's where my love of bread comes from. Is just we always had it.
It was a staple.
Fruit toast, crumpets, that sort of thing. That was just what we ate. Lunch, breakfast, dinner, everything. So, and a lot of other things happened in that time. Obviously enough. I don't forget them, but like
Try to move on.
Yeah, finished school. Mainly stayed in school at the end because I had really no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have, my dad's a plumber. I was on the benefit and I was like, I didn't want to be a plumber at the time, but enjoyed cooking. And I think the main reason I enjoyed cooking at school was because you got to eat what you made. So from someone that doesn't have things at home, and you get at school and you can make yourself like a steak sandwich or muffins or scones, stuff that you don't usually have. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Got pretty lucky. The teacher I had took us through first year city and guilds at high school.
That's cool.
So I got a first year ARA at the time was CPOT.
Yep.
Level theory. I just had to go and do the practical. So I left school. I went to do that and then started working. As soon as I started working, I just never looked back, never went back to my mum. And like that sort of 16, 17 is where my and her relationship pretty much ended. And I could tell you that I've spent maybe, since I was that age, 3 days with her.
Really?
Total. Maybe a little bit more. Generally around family occasions, as in funerals.
Yep.
And stuff like that. Obviously, I lived with my dad for a bit, move out, do the flatting thing, meet my ex-wife at the time. She has a son. He's honestly, that awesome dude, Jack. I love Jack to pieces. Only really young when we meet.
You're only young, or Jack is?
Jack's young. Well,
yeah.
I am also young at the time. But she's from an ex-partner, had a son, and then they end up moving in with us, moving into the house we're living in. We live together and build a relationship, all of these things. And I become like a stepdad, I suppose. We weren't married at the time, but do all those cool things with a young fella. And it really stuck with me that like just doing the little things is what was important, because the bedtime and the playing with cars and trucks and sport and all of those things.
I guess you have an opportunity as well, because you've been in that relationship with a stepdad. Like you get to try and do things different.
That's right.
For Jack. But then like so many people as well, they don't do it different. They just, whatever they've experienced growing up is what they pass on. It must have been like, did you ever think about that?
And that was hard as well, because again, when grew up in those situations, living with my auntie and that, we had a very strict, room was tidy, came home from school, you played outside, you came inside, you did this, you weren't allowed to do certain things, you know, your TV time was this time to that time, you know. It was a very, like, there was structure there, but
Too much for you?
almost too much. Like, from someone who never has rules to all of the rules.
Yeah, they can be overwhelming.
Yeah. And then get into a bit of trouble, and then the way we're dealing with trouble back then was a hiding, or, you know, sent to your room. I never forget I got smacked on the hand by a wooden spoon for doing something, and I thought I was in the wasn't justified, and I grabbed it and I broke it. And it was the worst decision ever, because we had a melamine spoon, which hurt so much more than the wooden spoon to get smacked on the hand. So that was a silly mistake at the time. But
Understandable, though. Like, it's fine if you're, it's not fine, but like, if you're in the wrong, you can probably go, well,
yeah,
you deserve to be told off or punished. But if you're not in the wrong, you're like, nah.
and you learn early on, if you're getting a smack, if you cry early, that it stops pretty early. But if you sort of staunch up and just
Keep
feel
going.
like it just keeps going. And there'd been a few situations where I've decided that I wasn't going to let it break me, and it ended up worse than it should have been. And again, like, I don't condone that sort of behavior or anything like that, but I can see, like, the time was like that.
Yeah.
And domestic violence in no way towards anybody is okay. But
That was normal, though, back then.
it was normal, and I don't think that I'm a worse person because of it. If anything, it made me stronger in the sense of resilience towards things like that. Like, they didn't beat me down so bad. Like, that, like, I thought, oh, if I do this, I'm just going to get smacked. Like, that's okay. I can handle that sort of thing. So it almost didn't, it would make me weigh the options.
Yeah.
But I knew what I could handle and what I couldn't handle early on because of those sort of things.
Experiences.
Yeah. So
You're now working?
yeah, working full time as a chef.
You meet your soon-to-be wife?
Yep.
And then eventually, which we'll get to, ex-wife?
Yeah. So raising her son, living together. She lived the opposite side of town to where we did originally, and Jack went to preschool on the opposite side of the town. So at the time, we would go from, and she'd worked in Hornby, we lived in Shirley, so every day she'd go from Shirley to Freeborn to drop Jack off preschool to go to her job in Hornby, which is a lot. Like,
It's a big commute.
It's a lot. And I didn't think, like, I didn't think it was my responsibility to look after, but I worked around the corner, so I never offered to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't, and I don't know. It was. I look back at it and I was like, man, if I was, not nicer, but more switched on to think about it, that's quite a lot to have to do for a person is do that and that before they even get to work.
Yeah.
So eventually it becomes too much, and we moved in with my parents. She'd become pregnant with my eldest son, Petty, which was, weird in itself, like, gonna be a dad. I was pretty young. I was in my mid-20s. I thought that was pretty crazy to think about at the time. And the worst thing is when I look back now, and the worst thing was I didn't change the way I lived my life at the start. So at the start, before he was born, when she was pregnant and everything, I just kept going out every Friday night and Saturday night, and didn't really plan for the future.
Yeah.
Didn't really think of consequences of not sort of changing your lifestyle of moving forward.
Yeah.
So I felt like I worked really hard. I deserved to, get on the beers and hang out with my mates and do that stuff. So I look back at that time and was like, oh, I probably could have been better.
Yeah.
But I can't take it back now.
No, there's no live and learn these things.
That's right. So fast forward, crazy day. I remember the birth of my son pretty good. Wake up, contractions. She's like, I think I'm having the baby. Okay, so I just sort of thought all around. We go from my parents' house is just around the the road from her parents' house at the time. We go from one to the other, sort of just cruise. I'm cruising. I'm like, you want some toast? You know, does it? And she's like, no, I want to go to the fucking hospital.
I'm about that.
Yeah. And one thing sticks with me the whole way is the hospital in Mirabel, is where Patty was born. But we were driving there and just didn't want anything, just cold peas. So they had a bag of frozen peas on her tummy, where you know, in the lower tummy before Patty was born. Get there about 15 minutes from when we're there to when he's out.
Wow.
Just yeah.
So she was actually having the baby.
Yeah. So it was
Look back on it.
3 pushes. And he was
Whoa.
out. So he comes into our life, and we decide, like, we'll move in with her parents, and she, like, her parents were really helpful. Like, they're just so good with the kids and everything like that.
Gotta love grandparents, eh?
Yeah.
And they've done that before.
Yeah. I love grandparents. And then move on, a few years down the track, move out, live our own. Earthquakes happen. Yeah, back in with parents for a little bit during that time.
Pretty normal back then.
Yeah.
A lot of moving around.
Yep. Move into, my dad owns property, move into that.
Yep.
Because the place we were in was pretty, it got messed up pretty poorly in the earthquake. Nothing that was terrible, had a little leak and all of that stuff. But the main reason is the landlords decided to be one of those people that took advantage of people during the earthquake and pumped the rent up.
Yeah.
Because they could.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I think is probably one of the lowest things people could have done at the time.
Yeah.
People are struggling and all of that, and you decide you're going to get wealthy off that, or not even wealthy, but just make it easier for yourself. And
just take advantage, yeah.
Yeah, instead of helping people. And they knew they could, because there was such a lack of housing at the time. So I end up, sorry, it's a gripe. Just sort of threw in there. The moved into my dad's house and sort of progressed with our lives. Every day I was working in Mirabel at the time. After the earthquake, moved out, started working in Lincoln.
All the time in kitchens, eh?
Yep. Just running the kitchens, become a head chef. Sort of probably became a head chef a little bit early, to be honest. But
why do you say that?
Well, there was sort of an opportunity to move into it, and I don't think I was quite ready for that. I only had a few roles, like I was a senior chef, and I knew and I could do the work. The work was no problem and everything, but it was around dealing with people.
Yeah, the leadership there.
The leadership side of it, which is so hard. Like it's,
yeah. And they're like not even the same thing. This is one of the things that I've come to learn as well. Is like you just because you're really, really good at a job, let's say chefing, you can be the most amazing chef, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're fit to lead another group of chefs. Like they're actually entirely different skill sets. But what happens all the time, happens in like teaching, you know, you go and you become this amazing teacher and they go, now you're a principal. And it's like, that's a whole, not even in the classroom anymore. It's a whole different set of skills. Happens in front of house as well. You can be the most amazing barista or waiter or waitress. And then, but now writing rosters and managing wage costs and
time and,
you know, it's a whole different set of skills. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But did you enjoy it though?
I did. Yeah. And I liked being the creative person, like as in trying to make new dishes and more about assessing, you know, what would sell for our people, for the customers.
Yeah.
I enjoy that part of it. It's quite fun. Nothing better feeling than when something comes back. I don't know, if you're a barista, if you're a chef, even if you're a painter, you paint a wall and man, that looks amazing. And someone's like, hey, I really enjoyed that. And I'll be back again. And that's a great feeling.
Yeah.
You know, just brightening someone's day. I know, talk about it a lot, manaakitanga. Being able to, through something which is essentially quite simple, is just feeding someone, making them feel good, is a great feeling. So
you're chefing, you're at Lincoln at this point. It's post-earthquake.
Yeah.
I think you come from Lincoln to us, right?
Yeah. So from Lincoln, the building fell down. They built a new, I worked for the company when they built a new one. Great stuff. Really enjoyed my time there. Got hurt at work, hurt my hip. Went and had some surgery. came back to work and was just like, I don't know, like if this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do. I had a real, I don't know, almost like a midlife crisis is, do I want to chef anymore? Do I want to do that? And I had heaps of holiday pay because generally when you're at the top, you don't take a lot of time off because you're quite busy, and then you go to the down period, so you sort of have less staff and you end up working more and all of that thing, especially in a small environment.
The holiday just builds up.
Yeah.
Holiday pay.
And then I think I left when I left there, and I left on brilliant terms.
Yeah.
The boss always tries to say, hey, do you want to come and work for me again? So I know that obviously I was doing a good job in his eyes.
Yeah.
So that made me feel good as a person. But I left there and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think I had about 6 weeks of holiday pay. In that time I got married. In between there and where Joe's. So got married and then left my job and slowly started to see this part of my relationship where it was breaking down, and I didn't understand why. Things were pretty normal, but I left from work and then I was looking for work, but I wasn't real super active and hungry for it at the time. I'd work 10 till 10 pretty much every day, 6 days a week for
a long time.
I don't know, but yes. And then if the breakfast shift didn't call, and then I'd work 5 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night, and I'm very limited in seeing my children. Yeah. Stepson at the time, and my own son, and I needed a change, and I thought that, do I just go and be a labourer, work 9 till 5 Monday to Friday, do that thing, but I didn't actively do it, and I knew I didn't actively do it because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I thought it was, but it wasn't. I love the kitchen environment. It can be stressful and hard work and thing, but it can also be great fun.
Yeah.
So I then come to you guys at Joe's in Woodland. And I remember having the conversation with you guys about it, being like, hey, look, I don't really want any responsibility here. I want to turn up, do my job and go home.
Yeah, I remember that conversation.
I also want Saturdays off.
Yep.
And I said, I'll work split days, but I want Saturdays off. My kids play rugby.
Yep.
That's a non-negotiable. And I wasn't trying to be a dick about it. I just want to said, look, I've got a lot of experience, sort of, you can take me on, and if it doesn't work out, we'll go our separate ways. You guys agreed at the time, take me on for a Saturday off sort of thing. And that was a big thing to me, little did I know Sunday was the crazy day at Joe.
We were like, sweet, you can say, Mum was here on Sunday.
Yeah. So I should have said Sundays, but that's cool. And then, I worked with you guys, and then my marriage fell apart. And to be fair, I look back and I can see the signs now, but at the time I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And it broke me at the time, man. I was probably with you guys for about 6 months, maybe a little bit longer.
It was pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had gone from being just a turn up to your sous chef had left, I remember you coming to me and saying, hey, look, you're doing the job anyway.
Yeah.
Why don't you just get paid for it?
Yeah.
I'll give you a bit more money. You can just be that person when Tim at the time wasn't there. And I was like, okay. Well, I naturally sort of push my way into those sort of roles where I do those things. And it's not anything against the chefs we had at the time or anything, because they're great. A lot of them are great guys. Yeah. With Matty B, he's still in the business and stuff, but he was early on and probably wasn't ready for that quite yet. So going from being like, I don't want many hours and everything like that to doing a few more hours and doing all this stuff and then breaking up my ex-wife. I was a broken man. I'd come to work. I think I cried at work a fair few times. I just was stressed. I was trying to make it work. We tried to make it work. It didn't. The big thing for me is I don't even think that I wanted to make it work for me and her. I only wanted to make it work for the kids because I come from a split home.
Yeah.
And I don't want it at all for Paddy, and Jack already come Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Well, I suppose when he met you, he'd already come from, he'd already gone through the experience, right?
and I remember having a conversation with him, and it absolutely broke me down to probably just not in front of him, but as soon as I walked out of the room, a blubbering little boy about he thought it was his fault.
Mm.
He's like, it's happened to me before.
I'm a common denominator.
Is it my fault? And I was just, honestly, I was so far out. Like, that's heartbreaking for someone who you care about to think that they're the reason you're like that. And so that happened. I was honestly a sack of shit at work. I remember coming to work a few times and sort of being told like, hey, there's no point you being here, just go home. Had great conversations with you about trying to make it work early on. And then also with Maya, who I think of as like that sisterly figure who I can talk to. And she just had nothing but remorse for me and everything like that. And again, really felt like you guys were my family caring for me in this hard situation for me. And I know that you guys care for me, and it's a real weird thing to say. Your business is like a family, and like I think that it's sort of cliche sometimes and stuff. But some of us, it is a family. It's still work, but there's that family aspect. Like I know that if I rang up on my day off in the middle of the night, you'd answer the phone and you'd say, "How can I help you?" It wouldn't be, "Can we talk about this another day?" And the same thing with a couple of people, and not all of the people that we work with, not all of that I expect from my side. But again, there's stories of staff and that just, we all have dramas, and at the top, like, honestly, I don't know how you do that, deal with those phone calls and those breakdowns or those, issues that everyone comes with those. Because I was like, man, my one itself, when I was going through the stuff, was massive. Like it was crazy. And I was like, fuck. Look back, I was like, if I was him, I would have just been like, bro, you want to not be here? Like, it's like, then can we get someone that does? Because you're just really hard to not. I wasn't negative towards people, but I was just so inside my own head and so couldn't get out of it that then I just felt like I was dragging everyone down. So that happens. I sort of get through the other side of it. That's great. Sort of start being me.
Yeah. I remember was it around about that time that we had Shoes on Your Rehab, I don't think was a thing yet, but we had that Barber Hui.
So I think there was a little bit later, maybe close to a year after then, maybe a little bit less. But I just met my new partner.
Yeah.
Who I'm with now. And
starting to get your life back on track.
Starting to
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just be positive about life again. Try and be there for the kids as much as I can, and not let it be their problem or their hiccup. Like you said, we did a Barber Hui. We went up to the North Island.
Not to cut hair, but to cook for the
buttons. Yeah.
That was a cool experience.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Me and Joseph Lowe, who used to work with us there, we went up and we were the cooks.
We did the Waikato one, eh? Is that that one that we did? Yeah, because I did 3 of them.
Port Waikato.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a cool trip.
Went up and still friends with a couple of the guys from there.
Yeah.
Craig, who used to work for MFB, now got his own business. He's my barber still. We always bring it up. And Carlos, the faded Mexican, who's an out the gate character. And but just he's got a kind heart, and if you're on the right side of him, he would, again, same sort of thing. He'd probably take the shirt off the back to give it to you.
Yeah.
But
a lot of those men are like that, though.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that came from that situation. We went to this environment, and there were these, big, strong-looking men and business owners and that just became vulnerable little boys again, and talked about their bad time growing up. Politi, especially, I felt a really good connection with him. He's such a, inspirational dude talks about his story and everything like that. And it really stuck in with me. And again, I seen a lot of what those guys talked about in my own life, which I'd never really shared with people before.
Yep.
Like I would never have talked about this sort of thing about my mum's drug addiction and seeing these things happen. And, that before going to the Barber Hui.
And I guess hearing other people talk about it, it's probably brought it all back up, but it also probably, I don't know, did it make you feel like you weren't the only one?
That's right. Like it, and I never looked at my life and was like, oh, poor me. I got picked on my whole life and no one's ever had it as bad as me or anything like that. I knew that they were out there, but being in an environment where you can openly talk about things with people and listen to them all snore all night because they sleep in one room. But
on the marae styles, there was no judgment though.
No,
there was a lot of, as you said, very vulnerable, like tapu stuff shared, and no one, there was no judgment.
And again, I think as my mental growth as a man, I changed a lot from there.
Right.
And that was an opportunity brought to me from working with you guys, which probably led me to, I remember going home, and talking to Alicia about it and just being like just talked about all these things and came home and I was like a little kid after getting some sweets or something. It was a different person that for quite some time, and it just changed, not my way of thinking about how to act towards women or how to act towards other people, but being able to be open about it and not knowing that even though these things happen to you, they don't have to make you who you are or who you want to be. And then I felt that a lot. Like I resonated with that a lot because I obviously came from a bad situation, managed to get myself out of it. Went through some bad stuff again with being breaking up in a marriage, and now I'm on the other side of it. And it's like hard things happen to everybody all the time. Is how we, like the boxers say, it just doesn't matter how many times you get knocked out, it's how you get up. And like that's cool, but that doesn't mentally prepare you for it. Like just thinking that way. So I think being vulnerable and being in those places where other people are vulnerable, that really does mentally prepare you for bad times. Like you can just think about it. And I often do think about these things in the sense of what's so bad for one person could not even be a thing for another person.
Yeah, it's all relative, eh?
That's right. Like and it's relative to the situation. So you can't just say, oh, spoiled rich kid didn't get a new iPad for Christmas. But if they've got a new iPad every Christmas, then that's their reality.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get a new t-shirt for Christmas. That's so sad for me. They didn't get a new iPad. And you're like, that's $1,000. Why is that so sad for them? But that's their reality. And the same thing is like in countries where you don't get food or stuff like that, their reality. And I'm not saying that they're the same thing. What I'm saying is the emotional trauma to each person for that happening or the way that they feel at the same time, they balance that the same because that's their norm and their norm. They're two different normals, but the effect on them feels the same for them.
Yeah.
And I always like try and think about it like that. So me going to someone, oh, you didn't get a new pair of shoes, whatever. Yeah. Like I don't think that way anymore. I think, well, maybe that is, that is a really big deal to you.
Yeah.
Or, those things. So I try and think of it a little bit more with a bit more compassion. Sort of a change in mental attitude towards life, I suppose. Don't change me as a whole person, but I think helped me grow as a person. Didn't make me not be Sharne. Didn't, but I had a better understanding of a lot of things. And then, got back to mahi. Fast forward a couple of years because I've been with you for a long time now. And I would say that loyalty is bred probably quite a bit from when I was in a bad situation and you guys were there for me. Like I probably could have gone to somewhere else and made a bit more money.
Well, yeah, all the skills and all the experience. I mean, there was certainly a period of time there, and we're still kind of in that period now where chefs are like hen's teeth, you
Yeah.
know, and like you can take your pick. If you've got the right skill set and the right experience, then you can kind of work anywhere you want.
That's right.
And there was certainly some times there where, yeah, and you could have easily just gone and pick up a job somewhere else and got a few extra bucks, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've always admired your loyalty. What do you think is, you think at that moment where you were going through those tough times and like you said, there were some people around you who just kind of got around you and supported you. That was what earned that loyalty?
It's a part, like, that's like part of the foundation of my loyalty for you guys. But again, you've openly talked about the business failures and everything like that. And the willingness for you guys to pay us over everything else as well. I was probably a little bit more inside than some of the other staff on seeing that, and understanding a little bit more about it, and the hard times that the businesses went through, and so there was another thing that just made me really, wow, like he's prepared to live with his parents and work 7 days a week and do all that stuff. So the least I can do is be open and honest with him if something's come up, or if that, and be loyal and helpful where I can. Like, I never didn't get paid for anything I didn't do, so I can't bitch and moan about it. Like, I never worried about that. So there's probably another big part of why I've been with you guys for so long.
Coming up 10 years now?
Yeah, coming up 10 years is crazy. I'd say
Just 10-year pin soon?
Yeah, it's right. I've got my other one sits on my blazer at home, which I'm getting a bit big for. So they say that's a sign of being happy, is in your relationship you sort of don't worry so much about it. Probably should worry a little bit about it.
It's a balance.
It's a balance in life. But yeah, so then we're coming up, and my partner at the moment, we get a wonderful wee surprise, and my youngest son, Kobe. And then,
do you think it was like, was that sort of, you needed that little surprise in your life at that time, do you think?
I don't know if I needed it in my life. Like, it was
Shock to the system.
Yeah, like,
But it's really helped, I think.
Yeah.
It almost has like been a draw a line in the sand and like, this is a fresh start.
Yeah.
Let me do this one as best as I possibly can. All this learning.
That's right. Take everything I've taken
Yeah.
from seeing other people and doing all these other things and mistakes I've made with Paddy. Sorry, Paddy.
He's a good kid. He'll be fine.
Yeah, and then moving forward. And again, we had a blended family.
Yeah.
I mean, Alicia has 2 kids, Tyler and Halen, and they're cool kids, you know. They've both got big personalities and all of that, and they're just, you know, that Kobe has united our family a little bit more, I suppose. The glue that sticks us all together. We don't always see eye to eye, and again, being stepdad again is hard work, and because again, they come from a family where it was different before and it's different again, and just trying to do my best. And I'm the first to put my hand up and say I fuck it up all the time. Like, some things that I stand on the wall about, Alicia doesn't stand on the wall about, and all of that stuff, and we have differing opinions, but I know that we both love each other and we love the kids. So,
and I think kids feel that, you know, like I didn't always see eye to eye with mum and dad growing up, but I never ever didn't feel loved, you know. So you don't have to agree with people to show that you love them, and that, you know. So I think even if you don't necessarily see eye to eye with everyone in your household, there are other ways to show that you appreciate and you love them.
Yeah, I get that entirely. And again, I'm sure I'm going to mess it up a few more times in between now and whenever things happen the way they happen. But again, like, we have Kobe to sort of meld us together. But as that happened, I remember coming to you and being like, hey, I can't do this not at home thing anymore.
Because he was still working long hours. Opens, closes.
Not but lazy, but long enough, like gone before the kids got up, and they're home after they're in bed, sort of thing. At the start, and I just said, look, this is nothing personal. But I need a change, and I'd love to stay.
What can we
do? Like, and like, how can we work this out? Like, we've got a couple of people they've got kids and stuff like that already, and you know, that around them. And then you were like growing as a business, and you're like, well, we need someone to help oversee things and do some of this compliance stuff and procurement stuff. And pretty much I think about it as like, I'm just, I'm like an all-rounder. I sort of do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit everywhere.
That's true.
But
including fixing dishwashers when they break down.
yeah, just doing whatever I can, really. And the beauty about that is no 2 days are the same, I suppose. So that's a cool thing. But yeah, as we've grown as a business, obviously you can't be everywhere at once, so you need someone to help with those things. And you put your faith in me and said, I'd love for you to be one of the helpful people. So here I am. We're still together. We don't see eye to eye all the time about things, and I think that it's not a bad thing.
No.
Like, no one needs a yes man. No one needs.
I don't need a yes man. I need someone that's gonna, be honest, which you are, which I appreciate.
So yeah, again, like we've had a pretty good relationship over the years.
100%.
Again, like I get to see a little bit more than all the other staff do because I'm in the office with you guys. And I love the people I work with. I love most of them. Yeah, I don't get along with everyone all the time. But
that's life though, eh?
Yeah. And we're not, again, I don't think everyone has to be friends. You can come to work and just work and do your job. And as long as you do your job, the next person, as long as they do their job, it'll be fine. You can be amicable towards each other and have a great day. But I 100% love everyone I work with in the office, and really enjoy my role here, whether that be helping in the waka or working at Fush or working at Joe's or that.
Doing deliveries.
Yeah, doing deliveries.
Fixing the dishwasher.
Yeah, unloading and loading things and just different. There's so many, different opportunities of late that have been great, and I look forward to whatever we get into in the future. But the sky's the limits or whatever, and hopefully the business grows and grows and grows, and I can be a big part of that moving forward, and help where I can. Like, I can't always be there, and that's one great thing that you guys have been fantastic with, is understanding that I know the mistakes I made early on with my other kids and don't want to make those mistakes again by not being there for Kobe, and you guys are supportive of that, and to the point where, if I have kids, that I pick them, and it's not them over you, it's just that
it should be them over us, bro.
But I know that
this place is important, but nothing is actually as important. I would pick my kids over this any day of the week. I would expect you to do the same.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we can't do both.
No.
But, if it comes down to it.
Yeah, and again, and I've never had to make that choice, because you guys have been so understanding. So I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you, bro. I've enjoyed our talk today. I've learned heaps, actually. I thought I knew you pretty well. I mean, I do know you pretty well, but I've learned heaps about, especially those early days.
Yes.
And I think, I always had a sense that things were pretty messy and maybe just maybe a little bit dysfunctional growing up. Yeah, but hearing some of those details today, I guess it just makes me admire where you are and the man that you are today a lot more. One of the things that I was thinking about it this morning before we caught up, one of the things that I really admire and love about you is your loyalty. It sounds old school, but man, I value loyalty so much because I don't always get it right, and none of us do, but you are the type of person that you just kind of go, even if you don't necessarily agree with the direction that I'm going or that we're going, you'll be like, you'll make it known and then go, but I'm here, whatever you need. And that's pretty rare these days. And so I do really, really appreciate your loyalty. I don't take it for granted at all. But I thought I should let you know that, it doesn't go unnoticed. I really appreciate it. And, and I'm excited to see where we go as well. And, you'll always have a job here as long as you need it, as long as you want to be here. And it's been a real privilege watching you just grow into the man that you are today. I see the way you are with with Kobe especially, and your other kids as well. Some of them are grown up now and don't want to hang out with you anymore. Fair enough. But no, just seeing the growth, bro, over the last 10 years, it's pretty awesome. And I do, yeah, I just really admire the man that you've become and the man that you're still becoming. So thank you for being you. Thanks for agreeing to be on the podcast.
No, all good.
And yeah, I really appreciate being so vulnerable and so honest. It's what we need.
Yeah.
So yeah, love you, bro. Thank you very much. And we'll get into it. We've got some work to do.
Sweet.
Sure, bro.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.